This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Right now on 1480 KRAE, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 KRAE. And we welcome you again to the Pro Show, Day 2. Larry Proietti along with Nick Proietti, and we will go right to the phones, bring on our first guest, a longtime friend of ours, Chuck Heeman, as we get a chance, always when it's snow and cold, to talk baseball. Gets us all fired up for the warm weather season. Again, owner of Western Nebraska, and also owner of North Platte, and former owner of Casper. And we'll get into all of these nuances that are going on with baseball, collegiate baseball during the summer. Chuck, welcome aboard. Happy New Year to you, pal.
Same to you guys. Thanks for having me on. It's never a bad day to talk baseball.
All right, Chuck, let's talk about, as I mentioned right there in the opening, former owner of the Casper Horseheads. And again, I know there was a lot of promise for you and that franchise when you were running the program in Casper. Can you tell us a little bit what happened and why you're out at Casper?
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors involved, and I want to start by saying it's nothing against the city of Casper or the people of Casper. It's really, it got into a situation where my wife and I were running three of these things, and it's not easy. We're running three small businesses in two different states, and we knew that going in, and we knew it was going to be a lot, and we've talked about this before over the years. The Casper market's it's a different place. It just is, and for good or for bad, it's they've gone through a lot of pro teams over the years, and you guys know that, and we, I think we were maybe arrogant enough or confident enough in ourselves that we could come in there and sustain this thing long term. And our first couple of years were financially very rough. They just were, and there's no secret about that. And then we got into, and I don't want to blame the pandemic for anything. I will say that set us back a lot. We couldn't play in 2020. We kept our business open. We kept people on payroll. We had made sure our bills were paid, and really got set behind by that. And I don't really think we ever dug out of that. So over the last couple of years, we've sustained some pretty good financial losses, and that's a big factor. Of course, money's money when you're running a business, and then you get into the strain on our family. Our daughter and her husband were running the Casper team for us, and she's had a couple issues that that kind of had made her step back, and this happened this last fall, and so Myra and I just kind of looked at it, and it's like, well, we've been in Casper for almost 6 years. We've never really made a penny there. It just seems like the signs were there, and so we were also in a situation where we were looking to renew the lease with the city for 2 more years, and when you look at that, our situation in Casper is that all of our bills were paid. We don't owe anybody any money. We don't owe anybody staff, any vendors, hotels, anything like that. We're in a good situation that way. So I don't know if we would have continued for 2 more years if that was going to be the case. You see these teams and they stop operations, they fold, and they owe money all over town, and everybody's chasing them for, like say hotels, whatever it is. We weren't in that situation, but I kind of feel like if we had continued and then in 2 years had to do the same thing, we would be in a lot more debt. So that was a factor too. And then this last summer, between operating 3 of these things and being more hands-on than we really had planned to, it really kind of wore us down. And at the end of the summer, Myra and I just looked at each other and said, why are we killing ourselves? This is supposed to be, it's a business, but it's supposed to be a fun business. It's supposed to be something you get enjoyment out of. And we just were at the point where it wasn't that. So when you look at, the 3 markets that we're in, obviously the Pioneers are still going strong. North Platte, I think we built something really good that we're going to continue to build. And then you go to Casper, and it's like, well, we've lost money. It just seems to be more of a I guess a tough market to get people hooked on it. We could never really find the thing that there's always something that people love to do in town, and we just couldn't become that thing.
Well, and again,
if you look at it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we'll make note again regarding the Casper, at least Horsehead's no longer in existence, again, that franchise, but again, Casper still has that Independence League team, again, that at least now the Casper Spuds being a part, again, moving in from the state of Idaho, and again, at least there still will be baseball at Mike Lansing Field, but again, it will no longer be the Horseheads, instead it will be the Spuds. But Chuck, at least kind of moving away from the Casper franchise, again, even though, again, baseball will be still played, but again, no longer under your ownership, you still, as you alluded to, at least still have ownership in the Western Nebraska Pioneers, North Platte Plainsmen. We talk about change with the Horseheads, at least no longer, at least being in existence. Pioneers, North Platte are, but the big change and something that kind of caught our eye as, again, teams are being added, ownership changes were happening part of this Independence League. Western Nebraska and North Platte were no longer listed as teams in that league. Let's kind of go into that of what happened, why Western Nebraska, who are the defending champions of the Independence League, and North Platte are not playing any of these teams.
Okay, yeah, and and I want to start with this whole thing by saying that this isn't. It's a completely different situation than we had with the former league, with the Expedition League, where that was a case where the rest of us had to get away from the guy running that league, and it was a legal thing. And this is not at all like that. This is very much a business decision, not that. We're still friends with the folks from the Independence League. Matter of fact, I talked to Eric Schmidt and Spearfish this morning. I talked to Brian over in Hastings, Brian Frew in Hastings yesterday. We're still the partners in baseball. We're just not in the same league. So where this came from. And we actually thought about this last year when we broke away from the Expedition League. So there's a lot of college wood bat teams in America they go what's called unaffiliated, so they're not in a league. What that means is that you can play anybody you want to. It means that you don't necessarily have to have the same number of home game and road games. You can control your home schedule, your travel schedule. Who you play and where you play them. You have a lot more control over that. My former team, the team that Myra and I started in Oregon, the Medford Rogues, they do that now. And they play next year. And before we did this, we talked to a lot of people. But I talked to the guy that owns it now, and they're going to play 40 home games and 7 road games next year. So that's kind of what we looked at. And then we looked at the travel schedule that we had, especially this last year when fuel prices went up and bus companies were getting more restrictive on what their drivers could do. We put guys on a bus for 2 days, 16 hours total, to go to Caldwell, Idaho to play a series. And in my mind, that you can't do that to guys. You can't do that to players. And then we started getting calls from college coaches. And they're telling us, if you're going to do that to our guys, we're not going to send you players. And so that was a big factor in how you treat your players. So what we did, and again, this is something that as members of the Independence League, we had the right to do. We didn't have to sue anybody. We didn't have to go to court. You have the right in the bylaws to withdraw your team by September 1st of each year for the following year. So we talked around and we got a pencil and paper out, and we started talking to the teams in the Rocky Mountain League and the Mink League and the Mile High League, and started talking to some of those guys. And we said, hey, if we do this, will you bring your guys up to play us next summer? And we got enough positive response so we took this move, and a lot of it is related to the travel. So we're going to be playing a lot of the teams I think we're playing all the teams in the Rocky Mountain League, and then a couple in the Mile High League once they get their stuff formed. And I know there's 2 teams in the Mink League that are in Iowa, Missouri, that'll come over and play us in North Platte because it's not a long drive. So we, Myra and I looked at it, put pencil to paper, talk to who we thought we needed to talk to kind of get educated on how to do this. Because I've never run a team that wasn't a league. So it can be done. People do it. And so we talked to some people that do this, and how do you do this? Where do you get your umpires? How do you and so we felt confident enough that we made that move. And it's possible that we may even still play some Independence League teams as they get their schedule and have some open dates. So again, this wasn't a fight. This wasn't anything where anybody's going to court or suing anybody. It's a right that we had as members of the league, and we're going to try it this year. And if it goes well, we'll cut our travel down by about half, and we'll increase our home games by about half. So we just think it's a good move, not just financially, but in the way we treat our players. Right now, I'm at 36 home games and 15 road games in with the Pioneers, and our longest road trip is going to be like 4 hours.
Chuck, let's talk.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to just step in there too, because again, as you're talking to these teams right now, I'm kind of equating you to Notre Dame of college football. Being an independent right now, but also too, you've had great success with the Pioneers, and again with North Platte. That initial season showed that it can be very. Again, you're in business not to lose money. That's the first thing about business, but it shows that it's got a lot of potential. But when you're talking to these teams in these various leagues, obviously you're not trying to get them for a single date. I would venture to say you're trying to get them in for at least a 2-3 game series, and in the case of your two teams, I would say no postseason. Once you're done, after about 2 months plus, the guys go back off to their colleges.
Yeah, and you're right. This isn't a case where the Hazelarks are going to come up to North Platte for one game. It's got to be 3 or 2 in Gering, 2 in North Platte, whatever it is. Can't do one-offs like that. They do it a little bit different. Like, for instance, we're going to go down. I'm taking the Pioneers down to Denver for 4 games. We're going to play, but there's 2 teams in Denver, so they're like 20 minutes apart. So we can stay in one hotel and play both. But when we bring them up, yeah, it's when we make these schedules, it's got to be at least 2 games, 3, maybe 4, and everybody's pretty on board with that. My schedule is pretty well complete right now. I think I've only got about 6 dates to fill in each market. My road schedule is complete, so I've had really good cooperation from these guys, and so it's basically the same setup as when any other team came to play us before. The Colorado Springs Outlaws are going to come up into Gering for 3 days, and they'll stay in the hotel in Gering, and then they'll go home after the 3rd game. Very much the same scheduling setup, yeah. So having somebody drive up from Colorado Springs to play one game or us do that's not something we do.
Same amount of games, or will there be more games on the schedule for both North Platte and for Western Nebraska?
Right now, for both, I've got 56 on the books. I think we'll land probably at if I don't get everything filled, we'll play no fewer than 54 in each market. And you were talking about postseason, and that's something I'm looking at with these guys, because a lot of these guys, I think the champion of the Rocky Mountain League goes to the WBC in Wichita. But what I might do, and I'm going to propose, I proposed this before, but we haven't had a meeting on it yet, is we may do like a tournament right after the season, where my 2 teams and maybe 4 teams from the Colorado and Kansas markets come up, and we play a tournament in Gering or a tournament in North Platte. But I don't know that yet. But really, that's probably the biggest difference, is that there's not really a league championship to be had, and that's when these guys come to play summer ball, that's a nice thing, but it's not the deciding factor on if they're going to come and play for us.
Chuck, again, as we talk about going away from the Independence League and becoming independent yourself again from Western Nebraska and North Platte, again, and hopefully, again, don't take this the wrong way, Chuck, but again, hopefully this inaugural season, again, being independent does go well for both your franchises. But if year comes over, again, you go through this independent, at least stint with both franchises, and you go and reevaluate, hey, it was a lot better being part of a league. And, again, with the Independence League still here, and, again, they're adding teams, again, closer within our region. Again, we'll see what happens here in the Cap City as those talks keep on coming about. But is there a possibility or an open opportunity for West Nebraska and North Platte to come back at a later date to return to the Independence League?
Well, yeah, there's always an option for sure. We're not barred from going back. We'd have to talk to them, and you think about that too. This is kind of a one-year experiment. If it works, then great. If it doesn't, then we have to reevaluate. There's other leagues around that we could join. There's a million ways you can go with this thing. There's no one way to do summer baseball, and that's what I've found out over the years of doing this. There's no one set way to do this. So this is our year to do it. After a lot of talk and a lot of analysis, we think this is the way to go for this year. Not just for financial reasons, but for player treatment purposes. And yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at.
Looking at the Independence League from last season, and again, as you mentioned, and we know it too when we were broadcasting, a couple of trips we had to wipe out just because of fuel prices, for example. Again, it was a costly summer for the entire Independence League. But overall, Chuck, and again, you mentioned the problems you had at Casper, but I know over in Garion you got a very great following over there in the city and the Scottsbluff area. Everybody's behind you there, and obviously North Platte came out of the block strong. But talk about the Independence League in general. Was it a success last year? And again, I know ownership changed in Laramie, but looking at the books was for the Independence League was would you deem it a success?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody made it through the season. Everybody has problems. Laramie had some problems. Nothing's perfect. But everybody made it through. I know the Caldwell team made the adjustment to go into Casper. We kind of, one of the things we kind of got out of their way to do that, and we sold them some of our assets over there, some of the equipment they'll need for concessions and office and some other things. I think that move is going to help that league a lot because the travel to Caldwell, again, it borders on player abuse, and everybody knew that, and everybody kind of said, what are we going to do here? So when this came about with Casper, I think the move from Caldwell to Casper for the Caldwell team is going to help them a lot. They added the Pier team. I know they're still looking to add some more. I saw a month or so ago that they were trying to get into Cheyenne, and that's kind of why at one point I was talking to the city of Cheyenne about putting a Rocky Mountain team in there, and a lot of that was just so that our two teams, we would make sure we had enough teams to play, and that turned out to be not a worry. But I know I was talking to them about maybe us doing that, and then I saw that Matt Snyder had gone in the paper and told them that they were bringing an Independence League team there, so I kind of backed off of that. So it'll be interesting to see if they can solve some of the problems that we had with play dates and having a 3-game series or playing at one field or how that is. It'll be interesting to see if they solve that. But overall, everybody got through the league last year. Everybody got all their games in. Nothing's without hiccups, but everything I think worked really well, and they're still going. So they're still looking for more markets.
All right, Chuck. Well, hey, again, the microphone is always open to you, and we'll catch up with you once the season gets ready to get underway. And again, we'll find out how your scorecard looks as far as all the games set up and all the home dates, and we'll keep all our listeners abreast here of what's going on, especially with the Western Nebraska group, because again, that only takes us about an hour and a half to get over there to Garion to watch some quality baseball.
Well, you're always welcome. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know the people on our fan base and our sponsor base that we've talked to, they're all for it because they get to go to more games and the sponsors get their message seen at more games. And again, it's a one-year experiment, and if it works, great, and if it doesn't, we'll adjust. We're not going anywhere. We'll just have to find the right path.
All righty, Chuck Heeman joining us here on 1480 K-Ray. Take care, Chuck, and again, Happy New Year to you. And we'll take a break. This is the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. We're back after these words right here on 1480 K-Ray.
Tired of choosing between errands and adventures? Platte Valley Bank can help you take care of everything without missing anything. Next time you get a check, just sign, snap, and send the money directly into your account with mobile deposit. We can't fill your fridge, but we can save you a trip to the bank. Mark another errand off your list and get back to life. Platte Valley Bank, you belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Winter driving in Wyoming. Are you prepared? Winter storms strike quickly across Wyoming's high plains and the mountains. When they do, driving conditions can deteriorate rapidly and become very challenging. Make sure your vehicle is ready for the elements and you have an emergency preparedness kit available. Driving on slick roads, always remember slower speed, acceleration, steering, and braking. Also turn off the cruise control and always buckle up. Ice and snow. Take it slow. Know before you go. For travel info, call 511 or online at wyoroad.info. Paid for by Federal Highway Safety Funds. For nearly 30 years, family-owned and operated Lennox Auto Body, along with the Auto Glass and Detail Center, has been serving our community with quality and customer satisfaction. It's a pretty simple drill. When you want it done right the first time, call Lennox Auto Body for an appointment at 307-634-6608. Lennox Auto Body at 1020 Dunn Avenue. And the Auto Glass and Detail Center. Remember, it's not clean until it's Lennox clean at 617 East Pershing Boulevard.
Lennox Auto Body. No shortcuts, no compromise.
Your locally owned and operated radio stations, KYOI-FM and 1480 K-Ray AM, are just that, local. Serving Cheyenne and Laramie County, where your advertising dollar stays local too. It doesn't end up in Colorado, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, or even New York. We conduct business here. We shop here, and we live here. And we support our entire community 24/7, 365. Just because it has a window dressing doesn't mean it isn't a facade. A reminder from KYOI and 1480 K-Ray.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The Coin Shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The Coin Shop, a dealer you can trust, 510 West 16th Street.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, sunshine and windy. Expect a daytime high near 32. Winds out of the west at 30 to 40. Gustiness high is 55. For tonight, mostly clear and blustery. Our low down to 16 degrees. Westerly winds 15 to 20. Gustiness high is 30 miles per hour. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Look for a daytime high near 40. And for Thursday night, a mostly cloudy sky with our low down to 23. We welcome you back to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. We bring on Fernando Perez, who has been on our program before as the interim head coach with the LCCC men's soccer program. Now we can scratch that out and now congratulate him on being named the full-time head coach at LCCC, even though it was a full-time job, even with the interim tag. But now you are the head man with the program. So first off, Happy New Year! Congratulations on now. And again, we were teasing off air. You don't have to look really over your shoulder now. It's your program to run with it.
No, it definitely is. Thank you. I'm grateful for it, and I'm happy.
Let me ask you the process. And again, over at LCCC, Nick will agree with me. We saw a lot of those interim tags being put on, even at one time, the interim athletic director. Is there a process that you had to go through, or did the current athletic director, Mark Puev, and Vince Gibson, your former head coach on the men's side, is that one of those where they just said, hey, you know what, you're the man? Or was that done through a committee to take that interim tag off of you?
There's definitely a process and a committee to finalize who's going to be the head coach for the men's program.
So at least for you, Fernando, right now, again, with that interim tag removed off, again, how much does that kind of lift a heavy weight, so to speak, off of your shoulders, where even though, again, they kind of gave you that opportunity to recruit, set up games and all that for LCCC, but now, again, you know it's your team. You know you can at least get whatever staff on, again, whatever players, schedule any teams out there. Talk about that weight off your shoulder that now this is your team.
No, definitely there's some weight off. I would always consistently think, like, am I doing the right job to continue or, be in the running so when the job does open, I apply. Are they going to look me as, hey, I think this coach can do it? But I did the best I could as who I am as a person, a coach, and just kind of was true to myself and the program. And this is what I had to offer, and I have to offer to the program and to the the athletic department.
What does that do for recruiting as well too? And again, we've seen that with basketball. We saw that with volleyball. Again, where with high school students looking for their future, and again, parents as well too, looking out for their their son or daughter as well too. Again, that interim tag might be a little nerve-wracking. Where hey, you're looking at some talented player, but we don't know if you're going to be there, coach. Talk about now recruiting, where that's got to also to be a big factor. Where now we can go after that guy that you want and say, yeah, this is my offense, this is my defense, this is my team now.
No, yeah. So that at the beginning when I was recruiting, even if I said head coach, they go look you up, right? Everything's online, so they know. But I was honest with them, hey, interim head coach, I'm going to have a season and, potentially. But like you said, it's mostly I have to sell it to the parents as well. Like, hey, I'm interim, but now with that tag off, it's like, hey, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here and hopefully for the next, several years. And I think a little bit, parents trusting you with that, like, well, you're only going to be there for a season. What about the spring? And, them trusting you, not just the players, but the parents as well. So it was a bit difficult, but, I had to overcome it and just kind of get the right guys.
Well, Fernando, again, as you now are the head coach, and I don't want to say, it's a one-year deal contract, but does it come with any other benefits? Do you have a little more freedom, like for coaches, or do you get an extra scholarship to go after a marquee high schooler or player to come to LCCC? Was the pot sweetened a little bit for you now as the head coach?
No, I think just being interim and just being part of the program has been sweet enough. I'm going to continue to keep the staff, Brian Longbottom, Kay, work with our keepers, Chuck, assistant coach, Courtney, and just everybody else, Dave, that's part of the program, has been part of the program, because they all provide something, right? I'm not out there looking to replace them at all.
I'm going to ask you this, though. With the interim tag last year, and again, here's Vince Gibson, who has been with the LCCC program for a long time and great success. How tough was it for Vince last year to be on, not even on the sidelines, but pretty much out of the picture? How tough was it? But again, he saw the fruits of your labor and how successful the men's team continued to roll on.
No, it's definitely after 14 years and stepping away and, kind of handing it over, it's tough, no matter who you hand it over to, right? But he definitely gave me my opportunity. He kind of stepped back, and he told me, he said, hey, I'm going to step back and see what you can do and take it for yourself, and if you need something, I'm here. So he's a great resource to have. He's understanding of what I was trying to do and continue to grow.
For you, Coach, again, now as the official head coach with LCCC on the men's side, that, again, now I guess let's get into what your kind of goals or at least outcome results you want for the next couple of seasons with LCCC. Is it immediately that you've kind of placed yourself national championship again, kind of hit that bar, or is it something of let's get Region 9 championship, get a decent seeding in that national tournament, or at least get past also to kind of that regional tournament as well, too, the district tournament? What's kind of the stepping stone blocks that you have kind of for the future of, at least for LCCC, to eventually and hopefully bring back some at least national title hardware here to Cheyenne?
I think it definitely starts with winning the region, but I think even back further is bringing in the right type of guys that are going to help the program, the athletic department, to win that region and have a winning season, and then just continue to, be nationally ranked, and then from there, going to the national tournament and competing, not just showing up and be like, hey, we made it, but compete and be successful in the national tournament, as LCCC has been done in the past, and hopefully eventually, that's always hopefully bring that national tournament to Cheyenne.
Regarding scheduling as well, under Vince Gibson, we knew that he liked to go aggressive, take on some of those upper echelon, those top 5 or top 25 teams. Again, whether it's getting them here to Cheyenne or traveling out to Texas, or again, making that trip to go see that top tier talent. Scheduling-wise for you as we prepare for 2023, looking at a similar kind of situation of, hey, we want the best either here or there. We're going to challenge ourselves.
Yeah, that's the expectation, just to show the guys, hey, this is what it's going to take, to play teams like Iowa West or Salt Lake, the teams that have been there and been successful, to, hey, you can't just show up and be like, oh, I don't feel like training. No, you have to show up every day to be successful. And that's kind of what I want to show them, like, hey, it's going to be tough, and if you want to make it there, this is how you have to play for the rest of the season.
Does LCCC run into a similar situation like the University of Wyoming where, mention Iowa Western? Is it one of those where, hey, we want you to come to our place, and before they say, no, we're not doing it, it's like, well, you come to our place, we'll come to yours 2 seasons in a row? I mean, you now have that power to do a little bit of negotiating. Do you find that it's tough to get outside opponents of the region, outside opponents to come to Cheyenne, even if it's an overnighter as well?
Sometimes. It's not always. Like, we had Western Texas come up in the middle of the season. But then we also have, like Casper come down and play them or play them at home. So it just depends, honestly. It depends on, the coach. Like, hey, yeah, we can make it, we can't. Or just, try to return the favor as well. Like, hey, we'll play you. If you guys play us here, we'll go play you there, like you just said. So it just all depends, I think, on the coach. But sometimes it is difficult, but sometimes it's kind of like, yeah, we'll come play you guys. No questions asked. And so. Who's
on your calendar right now that you would like to have come to LCCC, and then vice versa, where you want to go?
So CSN out of Nevada, Las Vegas, they invited us to out there and hopefully bring Arizona Western out there to play, kind of on the weekend. I've reached out to a few schools already, haven't heard it back. I know Iowa Western, we're in the talks with Iowa Western, either going there or potentially, hopefully coming here, but, it's not all set in stone yet, so.
Coach, as you've observed the field there at LCCC, and again, it's been revered as one of the best here in the region, and again, if not, probably in JCAA, again, the all natural grass out there. Again, we've seen that, again, scoreboard improvements out there as well. Again, we still have the metal benches, but, for you as a head coach, where, again, you have this say now, and again, it's regarding your team facilities, or at least kind of the grounds that you play on, pretty happy, or is there things that you're kind of reaching out to Mark Pleff saying, hey, if we can get this, I think that could help our team out in the long run?
No, I'm happy with what we have. I mean, like you said, the field is phenomenal from when I started to play to where it's now. It's a massive improvement. Like you said, the scoreboard, the back nettings, the dorms there, even the rack, the new rack getting remodeled or built, however you want to put it, is just, I think it's awesome. For the space that we have, our training ground is next to our playing field, so we really don't have to travel outside the city limits or downtown or across the city to go play. So I'm happy with what we have.
Yeah, one of the nice things, you're not the rack, so you're outdoors. However, when weather is cold like it is now, and you get into the practice portion of the program or the off-season training, where do you head to now? Because obviously rack is closed, both the MPG as well as the former basketball court. So where are you actually doing some indoor training?
So we've used Eastridge on Pershing to go do some indoor training. We haven't started training yet due to NJCAA rules. Eastridge, the Armory, which is going to be one of our more training facilities for our men's program. I believe the women's, I can't speak for them, but those are 2 areas. Yeah, it is a little difficult commuting, but there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture of the rack, so it's kind of something we try to tell the guys, like, hey, it's all right, we'll be there, get there. Once they're done building that, we're gonna have a nice training facility. If it rains during season, snows, or whatever storm is gonna come our way.
Talk about off-season, where in some states soccer season on the boys' side in high school has already happened and concluded. Again, some do play in that fall time. Here in the state of Wyoming, we play springtime, and again, can run into those elements, but either way, we still get it done here. But recruiting-wise, what can be done, again, as we look to at least getting kind of the local talent, and again, we're very good at getting at least some superstars here, especially here in the state of Wyoming, but recruiting-wise, what's kind of the schedule look like right now for the next couple months as we prepare at least for kind of the northern states for their soccer season in the spring?
So definitely in the fall it starts. Like you said, there's 2 different – every state has different seasons. In the fall, typically hit Colorado a lot just because the men's play, the boys, however you want to put it, play in the fall. So anytime we're done with training, because I moved training up so I could go out to a game that's at 5, 7 p.m. all on the Front Range or, south of Denver or however. Here definitely, with their spring – the boys season, I'll definitely go to some games local in town or even, for the state cup as well. And then kind of go more to different states. There's Dallas Cup, there's Mayor's Cup in Vegas, and definitely a lot of MLS cups, academy games as well. So definitely a lot on the road for the spring season. But then also I can't go too much because, of course, we'll have some spring games as well.
Coach, has something that just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago was the FIFA World Cup out there in Qatar. And again, had some phenomenal, at least, contests that kind of brought kind of the entire world, including the U.S., which, again, kind of overlooks soccer, again, for the major fours out there. But this is something I would kind of get opinionated on with you, Fernando, where, again, something like that, again, the World Cup, and especially with technology and social media where, again, shows off some of those highlights and those plays and those close games that happen out there on the world stage. What does that do for, especially here in the U.S., to get some of the United States talent to kind of get enthused and kind of move them into the conversation of the other kind of main four that happens here in the U.S.? Did that World Cup, in your opinion, kind of help kind of garner eyes for those high school students to go, maybe I should give soccer a chance?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, the U.S., probably one of the youngest teams in the World Cup, and what they did is phenomenal. I'm looking forward to the next World Cup when that team and those individuals continue to play at that high level and they come back and compete. I think they're going to give everybody else a run for their money. I think it looks great. I think soccer is still growing with all MLS club teams, UPSL, and everything else, USL 1, 2 champions. Like, it's growing. It's great to watch in a sense.
Nick, you brought up a good point about the FIFA in Qatar, across across the pond, way across the pond. But I'm thinking about basketball, where the market is now open to the UK and is open to Spain. Do those markets open up a little bit for you now as well too on the soccer side? Do you have, you could pick up the phone, or you can, with today's technology, say, hey, you know what? I like this high school performer. Can we possibly offer them a position here at LCCC? Are those markets now becoming available?
Yeah, I think they've always been available. It's just kind of finding the right type of player overseas, because I think it's difficult. Somebody sends you a highlight film, which I normally get every day from players overseas, South America, or just anywhere in Europe. And it's one of those things like, okay, it's film, instead of watching them in person and stuff like that. So it is definitely open.
All right. And final thought for me, and again, too, on behalf of Nick, we want to say congratulations again on being named the full-time head coach of the LCCC men's soccer team. Just a quick review. We've talked about it before, but just a quick review of the past season. And again, this would be the epitome of, it was not how we play here, how we finished, and you have to be very proud. And again, I know you said goodbye to some sophomores, but by golly, you were the epitome. We started here, and we really wrapped up here.
No, yeah, definitely. It's something that it's not how you start, but how you end, right? All coaches say that, and it definitely showed in these guys. And at first, it was a little bit rocky, and I just had to build that trust and them wanting to continue to fight and just play the type of soccer we play at LCCC, and they believed in it. They believed in themselves and their teammates and me and the coaching staff to, okay, we can do it together, and they did. I'm proud of that group and those sophomores that are moving on. It's sad to watch them leave, but it's for a better opportunity or continue their education.
And some moving to higher programs?
Yes, there's I think one gentleman that I think is, I don't know, finalized his commitment or hasn't yet, but to, I think, UCCS, and there's a few other in the RMAC and things like that.
Fernando Perez, head coach at the LCCC for the men's soccer program. So congratulations to him on a job well done as interim, and looking forward to now his new role as the full-time head coach at LCCC with the men's soccer program. So we're going to take a timeout. We're going to come back with more of the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. We're back after these words right here on 1480 K-Ray.
Wisdom, expertise, compassion, qualities that are the foundation of Cheyenne Urological, with their experienced doctors and their highly trained staff providing top-quality treatment for prostate cancer, urinary tract infections, kidney stones, impotence, and incontinence. You can trust Cheyenne Urological to give you the highest quality urinary care. Now offering the latest in robotic surgery, call Cheyenne Urological at 635-4131. at 635-4131.
We are the key to your cleaning success. The Key People that provides affordable office and professional cleaning services for over 40 years with exceptional customer care. All of our contractors have background checks and are licensed and bonded. We guarantee you a safe and secure service that is tailored to your individual and business needs. The Key People do not impose year-long contracts, and all quotes are free, confidential, and personalized. Call the Key People at 1-800-468-8283. That's 1-800-468-8283.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there.
Heather's arm is in motion, but she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-501-9096. 800-501-9096. 800-501-9096. That's 800-501-9096.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, sunshine and windy. Expect a daytime high near 32. Winds out of the west at 30 to 40. Gusting as high as 55. For tonight, mostly clear and blustery. Our low down to 16 degrees. Westerly winds 15 to 20. Gusting as high as 30 miles per hour. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Look for a daytime high near 40. And for Thursday night, a mostly cloudy sky with our low down to 23. We welcome you back to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, hoops coming up tomorrow. We get back into basketball at the James Johnson Winter Classic. That will be at East, Central, and South, also being held in Laramie and at Story Gym. It is going to be a highfalutin type of tournament as it's been for years and years, and we're looking forward to it. We'll be on the air tomorrow, 6:15 with our pregame show, 6:30 tentatively, as it will be East and Rock Springs on the ladies' side as they try to continue on with their current win streak, and then the East High Thunderbirds will match up with Rock Springs. That will be our dates for you tomorrow, so do join us for that, both on the radio side as well as the video live stream.
Yeah, even with East hosting Rock Springs, same with all three of our high schools hosting at least games at their facilities. Again, I do believe that Rock Springs will be designated as the home team, but again, really doesn't matter a whole lot, just kind of positioning and just all that good stuff. But either way, yes, again, looking forward to it again. East versus Rock Springs, both boys and girls action. Girls on a 45-game winning streak. Again, the longest streak in state history is at 48, and I think that they should, by come at least Sunday should at least kind of match that mark. I don't see them having any business, again, just seeing how this East team is and how they played so far, especially they are 6-0, that they should at least be comfortable 9-0 by Sunday time.
And the team that has that current win streak will be in town, not this group of young ladies, but the Bearcats. Lady Bearcats out of Douglas are the current holders of that long-time streak.
Yeah, but anyways, at least regarding tomorrow's games, do want to remind folks, 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480kray.com on the audio side. Listen in on that side. Video live streaming as we do on the 1480K-Ray YouTube channel. Go over there, give us a subscribe. Again, like the video as well, too. We appreciate that. I do want to at least step away from at least high school basketball right now. Again, let's kind of talk, because Wednesday is kind of designated as our pro day, or at least kind of regional day. Let's get into NFL talk. We talked about at least some NFL notes last night, but it was more so, again, regarding the Monday night contest, and again, giving updates on the situation with Hamlin, and again, with the Buffalo Bills in that Bengals game, which again is still kind of up in the air. Again, said the NFL was not looking to reschedule it, and now the thought is that they might. It is a game that matters a lot towards playoff seeding. We'll see what the NFL does, but right now, as we are down to the final week of NFL regular season, that still a lot is on the line, again, for a lot of teams, but one team that has been well out of it for quite some time has been the Denver Broncos, who, again, you've seen on the social media, again, it happened over the Christmas holiday kind of break, that, again, Hackett, we had a feeling at a point in time during the season was going to get fired because of just how bad this team has been, but it finally happened, and now, as we thought, Denver was going to look for a new head coach. There are, and now it's kind of the big question mark of who's going to land as the guy at this point. Again, there's been tossed out of, again, Harbaugh coming in from Michigan, who just lost in their college football playoff to TCU. Again, could he step back up in the pro ranks? There also, too, has been talks of a defensive coordinator out of San Francisco for the 49ers to come on and get in. But, again, I think right now for the Broncos, you've already had that chance with defensive coordinators. You did it with Fangio, you did it with Joseph. Yeah. Why would you do that again? It was a failed experiment every single time. I think you got to go for an established guy, and again, Harbaugh would be that guy if he does so choose to leave the Wolverines. But right now, Denver, they're kind of in this
there's a lot of talent in the NFL, and I'll get to that talent. We'll stop right there. Just want to update the Damar Hamlin story. It's improving. Just, after suffering the cardiac arrest not once but twice, en route to the hospital and on the field. Again, the vital signs are stable right now. Again, still in critical condition, ICU, but they're seeing the oxygen levels now starting to improve on that young man. So, again, the thoughts and prayers nationwide and the world have been great lifters for Damar Hamlin. Anyway, going back now to potentials in the Broncos situation, you got Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City, who's got a great offensive mind. Again, local guy makes good. If you want to go that route. And again, too, you know what? You got a real tough act to follow, because in nearby Boulder, you got Neon Deion. You got primetime coming to the University of Colorado.
I think
the Denver Broncos are going to have to make a big splash with their next head coaching position.
And I think that, again, you got to look for an established guy. Again, a coordinator is not going to get it done for this Broncos team, where, again, you've seen it for, again, ever since Super Bowl 50, that victory. Again, this is a team that has not seen the playoffs, has not sniffed the playoffs in quite some time, has gone through how many quarterbacks. They got talent on that field, but, again, I think for the Denver Broncos, if you hire another coordinator, whether it's defensive or offense, and, again, we just saw that with Hackett. Again, it was an offensive coordinator. These experiments have failed massively for the Denver Broncos. You got to get yourself an established guy. And, again, where you find that, again, there are college openings. There are going to be folks in the college ranks that are going to want to move on up. There are going to be NFL firings and hirings of, current head coaches. Again, do they go after that? Who knows? Again, the XFL coming back in. There are some familiar names as a head coach within that
league. You have
league.
one guy right now sitting as an analyst, Sean Payton, who had a lot of success with New Orleans.
But, again, interesting contract with him. again, there's come out details again. Can he become a head coach? Who knows? One name that has been tossed out, and I don't think he's going to ever return to the NFL. But again, Gruden, after the controversy that fell on him. But again, people have tossed that out as a possibility for the Denver Broncos. But I think you got, again, playing stuff for Denver, you got to go after an established guy. And again, I think the main target, even though people are kind of poo-pooing it and saying it won't happen, and it probably won't. Again, Harbaugh seems pretty happy at Michigan, and I think University of Michigan is pretty set to keep that guy on
and
as
he's
long
already
as they
getting
can.
recruits to sign in.
Yeah, so again, I think plain and simple, Harbaugh would be the guy if they were going to go for it. Again, he had success with the 49ers. Again, that went into a whole tailspin just more so with ownership and general manager. But again, it seems like he does want to get back into the league, but who knows? Who knows right now? But Denver, they can't afford to hire another coordinator. I think that would be disastrous without a doubt.
And, you hear a lot of people griping and moaning about Russell Wilson this season.
It's not good. I told you.
Yeah, deservedly so or not, don't know. But the point is, and then you look at Las Vegas, and again, all the rumor mills start kicking around now, okay?
Well, Derek Carr, it seems like, is not going to be with the Raiders.
And you know what? I'm glad. And I feel bad for Carr because he's not been the same since he had his leg broke, in my opinion. And it doesn't matter whether Gruden or Josh McDaniels are the head coach. He's just not been the same quarterback. Will he take snaps for the Broncos next year? I don't know. I mean, the Broncos have done weird things.
And there is Carr as an opportunity as a quarterback if they so. But again, I don't think the Broncos are going to go after a quarterback. If you do, it's going to have to be a backup role because, again, you put in a whole hell of a lot of money into Russell Wilson to be your guy. And again, like I said, it doesn't matter if you get Harbaugh in there. I still think Russell Wilson is a shell of himself of what he did up in Seattle. And again, it's been known throughout his career, but now it really came up, especially after having this really bad season in Denver, that Russell Wilson has come out that guy's a little bit of a goofball, even though team is supposedly rallied around him and again, see him as a teammate. But again, he's got some quirks that some teammates kind of early in the season, or at least some rumors were that, hey, I don't want to be near this guy because he's a little weird.
Well, and then, let's talk about other potentials, not coming to Denver, but just actual quarterbacks. And they mentioned this on Sunday night. Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens. He's up for free agency.
Yeah.
And they're not close right now where he could be going somewhere. But it's interesting. If they do slap the franchise tag, I was shocked at the number on the franchise tag for him. $45 million. Folks, a lot of this stuff is starting to get a little nuts. And we say this
these
every
franchises are worth nearly billions.
I understand that. We say this every year. We're saying it in baseball. We were talking about the Mets. I was talking about the Mets off air, where their luxury tax is like $80 million coming up for the season. But I mean, this is absolutely $45 million. And I was griping to you back 4 or 5 years ago when they got Garoppolo for $25. So the guy's not worth it. Is one player worth $45 million?
At a QB position, yeah, without a doubt. Again, that is your make or break position player for a team success, without a doubt. Again, Lamar Jackson, is he worth that money? He was a couple seasons ago. Again,
he's off injured the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, without a doubt. But again, Baltimore believes in the guy, and I think that they could. Who knows on that situation? Again, you mentioned Jimmy G. Who knows the situation with him and the 49ers? Again, now with him being injured, will he return this season? Brock Purdy, who has really stepped up in that rookie role, has really shown. Again, who knows in that at least scenario? But again, there's a lot of question marks, especially regarding the Denver Broncos. Again, head coach, will they stick with Russell Wilson? I feel like they're gonna have to. Again, you got to eat up that contract. But again, the guy, I don't think he's going to be a proven winner he'll get you to the playoffs, I think, at a point in time. But is he a Super Bowl champion once again with Denver now as his team? I don't think so. I think that he's also too off injured. It has changed his game, at least a significant amount, at least in my opinion, again, the years that he was with Seattle. But, yeah, without a doubt, there's a lot of question marks. Denver, again, the Broncos do have to make that flashy or at least big-time move, I think, without a doubt, because right now what's being overshadowed, and very quickly as we get towards the top of the hour to talk about at least college, again, with Deion Sanders, as we mentioned a couple weeks back, again, getting hired on with the CU Buffs, he's already making the moves. He's already made that statement that right now, not even just in the Colorado or at least the Denver metro area, that, again, Colorado, the Rocky Mountain region, that all eyes are on CU. And, again, we saw that with at least National Signing Day. We saw that with the transfers coming in from various colleges, including Jackson State, that, again, CU is committed to win and win now, not later, that they want to win in 2023, that all eyes, that, again, all ticket sales probably at this point in time are heading over to Boulder to see what Deion Sanders can do in D1, at least football. And, again, we saw that, right, or at least we're seeing that right now with the Denver Broncos, that, again, they're getting overshadowed by other ventures around kind of the Rocky Mountain region, including there in Metro Denver, that attendance at Empower Field is way down.
Well, and again, top 3 candidates that I would say right now are coordinators. And I think
it's disastrous.
Well, I say Eric Bieniemy is one. I'm going to throw Byron Leftwich out of Tampa Bay. These are 2 very quality coordinators that can step in and be head coach. And you mentioned out of the 49ers on the defensive side. I think that would not be a good move by bringing it. But I would think with Byron Leftwich as well as Eric Bieniemy. And Eric Bieniemy, again, favorite son to Colorado. So, and he's had great success with Kansas City.
If I'm Denver, I look, especially where, again, we've seen other 49er coordinators move on to at least become the head man. Again, you look down in Miami, you look at least Robert Saleh, again, with the Jets, without a doubt. Again, they've had success, even though Miami's got a whole lot of issues. But, again, it was a team that was expected to be at the top or at least fighting with the Bills for that AFC East. Jets have improved. Again, shocked a few. They had a chance at the playoffs. I think they are kind of near mathematically eliminated, if not at all. But either way, the Jets had a turnaround year, so to speak, or at least improved with all odds against them. So, again, you could look to that defensive coordinator with the 49ers as a head coach possibility for the Broncos. But like I said, I think either way, coordinator, offense, defense, even within the NFL, is disastrous. You've done that. Again, you have lost I think, again, look at attendance right now at Empower Field, that you've lost faith with Bronco fans who are not showing up, realize that this has been garbage product, especially this season, but it's been going on for quite some time, that, yeah, you got to make a Deion Sanders move of get a big name, get someone who's a proven winner in immediately. Well, I think Denver right now, again, with the talent that they have, albeit, again, you do have Russell Wilson, but I think there's enough talent there that it's an attractive job. It's not like the Broncos are, again, Houston Texan bad or Chicago Bear bad.
But again, with the Broncos, I think one thing that has been consistent during these down times has been the defense. The defense has not hurt the Broncos. The Broncos' offensive side has been absolutely horrid. And again, look how many quarterbacks,
to the Wyoming Cowboys.
Yeah, and look how many quarterbacks they've gone through post Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
So again, that's been the downfall of the Broncos. So again, I would think you got a couple of good hitters out there that are proven NFLers, Bieniemy and Byron Leftwich. I think they
They have not proven anything on the coaching side.
Did Hackett prove anything?
Well, again, he got on because, yes, he had some talented offenses.
And name recognition, too. Okay? But again, the guys that are currently on staffs, Bieniemy, very successful at Kansas City. Byron Leftwich has really, along with Tom Brady, even though they're not playing great football this year with the Buccaneers, they do have a Super Bowl championship, with Byron Leftwich being that offensive coordinator. So again, I'm just throwing those two guys out. They could be good fits for the Broncos.
This hiring is very important. Granted, we've said that it seems like every single time they have fired someone that, again, they got to make a right decision, because now, third time was not a charm with Hackett, that here you go, a fourth head coach potentially, or at least going to come to Denver. You got to make a splash. You got to find someone. Again, whether it is going down to the college ranks, whether it is going to the XFL, where, again, we're seeing some familiar faces down there, USFL as well, too. If you can court some away those head coaches that, again, were at a point in time names in the college or, again, pro ranks, you gotta find an aggressive route to get a big name that's been a proven winner. Again, not so much Super Bowl, but again, if the Broncos land Harbaugh, I think that would be ideal. I think that is the big move.
And if you got Walton money right now, Walmart money, you could afford Sean Payton. You could afford to go through the buyouts. And again, Sean Payton, very good offensive coach.
One name that has been tossed out as well, too, that they could easily afford as well, too, Peyton Manning.
I think Peyton, as much as I have respect and trust in Peyton Manning, needs to be a coordinator before he steps up. Again, you look at Byron Leftwich, who was an NFL quarterback, and he steps into the offense coordinator role.
Not all that, not all that successful.
But he's paid his dues. Same thing with Eric Bieniemy, who was a okay running back in the NFL and has really blossomed as an offense coordinator. Peyton Manning, I think, needs to have some seasoning on the sideline before you say, "Hey, let's make him the head coach." Because it's just right now, I don't think that's in the offing. But you got a Sean Payton who's been there, did it, done it, got a ring. So again, he knows the offensive schemes of the NFL. Defensively, they're sound right now.
Very quickly as well too, as we're at the top of the hour, get to our next guest here on the Pro Show. But again, Sean Payton also too, has won at least that title with the Saints. Has had a lot of success there in New Orleans, but did run into that controversy again. At least where again he had to leave one season just due to again targeting or at least kind of paying off the players. So again, he's run into trouble, which. Who knows if NFL ownership might be a little scared to bring him on. And same with Gruden. Again, his name has been tossed out, but I think he's been annexed for the entire league at this point.
It's all about wins and losses. And right now,
Gruden won a championship too.
But Sean Payton's got more wins, more W's than John Gruden does. We are going to take a break. Hour number 2 forthcoming of the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. Back after these words right here on 1480 K-Ray.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
17 years, and we're still striving to offer you the best value in a new vehicle. I'm AJ Miller here at Kia of Cheyenne. Come by and see the new 2023 Kia Sportage. 3 models and 7 trims available with powerful engine options, premium interiors, and on-demand tech features. Kia gives you more with an industry-leading warranty and roadside assistance from over 17,000 providers. Come into Kia of Cheyenne, call 775-0123 or go to KiaofCheyenne.com and we'll make it easy.
Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Tired of choosing between finances and family time? Platte Valley Bank can help you take care of everything without missing anything. With our online and mobile banking, you can experience immediate access to check your account balance, pay bills, transfer money, and even create a budget. When life has you on the go, Platte Valley Bank makes it simple to take your banking with you. Platte Valley Bank, you belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
For almost 60 years, 1480 K-Ray has been Cheyenne's home for good times and great oldies. Add to that live play-by-play sports featuring high school football and basketball, along with LCCC men's and women's basketball. Now combo that with KYOY FM and you have Cheyenne and the area's only locally owned AM and FM radio stations. But we don't stop there. We also have 2 FM translators which serve the area with programming from both K-Ray and KYOY. And that equals a lot of bang for your advertising dollar. Radio yesterday and now today, along with our websites, web streams, and digital ventures makes us your one-stop shop. For more information, please call Larry Proietti at 307-637-0301.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these super radio buys to ring in the New Year heard only right here. Jose Cuervo Especial Tequila. Gold or silver, 1.75-liter bottle, $29.99. Bailey's Irish Cream Liqueur, all available varieties. 750-milliliter bottle, $23.99. And Corona, Corona Light, Corona Premier, or Corona Familiar. 12-pack, 12-ounce bottles or cans, $16.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway. Cheyenne's low-price leader.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel? Introducing the Senior Travel Discount Network, brought to you by Low Cost Airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside discounts on over 500 airlines and 500,000 hotels worldwide. And when you call and mention the discount code 60 plus, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices on air and hotel reservations with your phone. We make it easy and fast for you to save money and book a trip. Remember, call the Senior Travel Discount Network, mention the discount code 60 plus for your free hotel night with your qualified reservation. Call now.
800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. That's 800-510-7126.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So today's your 18th birthday. Hey, Bobby, pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I've got my whole life ahead of me. School, then a job. I've been waiting for this day forever.
And when will you be registering with Selective Service?
What? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'll get around to it someday.
Someday?
Yeah, like, whenever I get around to it, like, I don't know.
Well, Bobby, if you don't register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday, you can lose out on college loans, job training, and government jobs. And then you'll be, like out of luck.
Bobby, where are you going?
I'm just gonna get online for a minute, then I'll be right back.
To register with Selective Service, log on to www.sss.gov or stop by your local post office.
There. Are you happy now?
Very.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, sunshine and windy. Expect a daytime high near 32. Winds out of the west at 30 to 40. Gusting as high as 55. For tonight, mostly clear and blustery. Our low down to 16 degrees. Westerly winds 15 to 20. Gusting as high as 30 miles per hour. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Look for a daytime high near 40. And for Thursday night, a mostly cloudy sky with our low down to 23. Right now on 1480 K-Ray, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 K-Ray. We welcome you back. Hour number 2, LP, along with Nick Proietti. Again, thank you so much for joining us on the Pro Show. Get to go back to LCCC, talk more soccer, this time on the women's side as we bring on the new soccer coach. Too bad you didn't have intro music like We Are Family by Sister Sledge. That would have been perfect. We bring on Lugo Arenas, who joins us. Yes, the Arenas name very, very familiar with Jose being part of that athletic department for many years before moving on to bigger and better things. But Lugo, let's talk to you real quick. Congratulations on the new position. Then we'll get into the whys and wherefores on, how this all came about. And, we're going to lay it right in your lap. And the nice thing, too, it's the head coaching position, not interim. So let's talk about, first off, a little bit of your resume and then how this all fell into your lap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, career-wise, it was not ever, at least initially planning that coaching was going to be the out route. And no, my brother got into it, that professions like that kind of came about. And after I graduated college, had some connections that kind of got me into that same realm. Spent my last 10 years in Iowa just bouncing around at 2 different universities, being able to be an assistant coach on the men's side and a head coach at the women's side at Waldorf, where I actually attended. And so that's what at least helped the transition is, yes, it was a new student athlete having to deal with, but I think the excitement just being able to take that head role and seeing what the possibilities would be at that area. But in the back of my mind, it was always, what can I do to get back out west? Whether this was LCCC or Colorado, Montana, Utah area, and something like this kind of came up. But LCCC for us, and like how you had mentioned, for our family, has always been close. Like my older brother, Jose, worked there for so long, played there for 2 years. I played there for 2 years. My younger sister, Victoria, did the same thing, played there for 2 years. So it's tough in our roots. And I know even with us being gone, my parents were still adamant on going to all the local games, basketball games, supporting all the teams, and just having a familiar face. And I think that's what always drove me once this position opened up to at least make it back my way this way.
And now you, as the now official new head coach of the women's soccer program at LCCC, again, you played, you're from kind of the region, about Cheyenne, Wyoming. here you stand again now as the official head coach of the women's soccer program, which again is a lineage of just success, whether it was with Jim Garner, whether it was with Nate Olness, and now with yourself. But again, talk about the emotions of you played here, now you coach here. Again, you have a chance to lead these teams into that kind of promised land. Again, just talk about those emotions.
It's actually been somewhat of an asset, at least throughout the recruiting process, even from the initial job hiring process. And as soon as it got announced, it was like, okay, I need to get my recruiting process going, and having some of those conversations and just the initial opening of like, I actually played here. I had siblings that played here. It made it a little bit of an easier transition, being able to not even step foot on campus yet and still get some legwork done ahead of time. And I think what's always made LCCC in the close-knit community and the support that they have, not just from locals and families that have attended through there, but just the outgrowing support, has allowed myself to at least get that leg up onto it and not necessarily having to learn a little bit of the ropes, but still going through it. I mean, these first couple of days on campus, it's been a lot of that. It's a lot of information that I'm sure I'll have to ask questions on later on anyways.
Lugo, let's talk about following a legend. And again, Jim came back once Nate Olness departed and said, hey, I'm only going to be here. I'll take care of this season for you, and then I'm out. But again, you look at the past, and sometimes that could be tough because the success that Jim has had, where he's taken the program, and sometimes you don't want to copy what he did because it's your program. But is it really tough to follow a legend?
That did cross my mind, just even through the process of like sending in application stuff, of being able to just throw my name, is that could be what could follow. And I think as things went along and as the process went about, and just being able to have those conversations with administration and just coaches and even Gardner himself, it was nice that they were open, that they don't want me to change who I am and who I am as a coach, who I am as an individual, because that's why I was hired and that's why I was brought into this position. And I think being able to take a part of things that I'm inheriting in programs and tradition, like you had mentioned, of a strong, rich women's soccer program, and even on the men's side catching that same drift now moving along, is that I have tools and I have resources around me. And even just yesterday and even today's half a day that I'm finally on campus, having the amount of people that stop by, reach out, let me know what you need. These are small little things to kind of look about. And so there was that added pressure, but I think the pressure starts to decline a little bit with the amount of outpour and the outreach that comes my way. And a lot of it is just being open and being an open book, taking in what I can. And also the neat thing is just being able to see what was being done here and how that has already correlated into what I've done in past programs, and things that athletes look for have been what we've actually implemented in the past as well.
Jim Gardner, class act, and I'm sure handing the key to you to that coach's office right now. Have you had that opportunity to chat with Jim? And obviously you've been here at LCCC, so you already know the kind of work that he can do. But have you had that opportunity? Because you got kids that are coming back, and, before you get out and sign some new kids, but, you have to have that little discussion of what do I have and what do I have to work with?
Right. And I'm grateful. Thankfully, Jim and I have connected. As soon as this thing was announced, it was, okay, let's get some legwork going. And even in these last couple of days, when I finally officially made it back into town, weather-based, it took a while, but finally made it back into Cheyenne initially, and just connected with Gardner right away. And he had given me updates on, this is what the team's going to look like in the spring. These are some things that maybe you should start working on early on. And he's been such a huge asset in myself, just being able to get more of like a grasp on these first initial tasks that need to happen on my first couple of days that I show up on campus. And then he's also been just a resource if I have questions. It's let me know what you need and I'll do the best that I can. And I think also knowing the connection that I had with Vince Gibson and him still being on campus has been the same way. Coach Gibson for me was a huge mentor in what I'm doing, and he was someone that I would call when I was going through coaching realms of, hey, I had this situation coming up, what do I look for? And I think for him, he was just always wanting the best, not just out of me, but I think my family, for how close we were throughout CCC and throughout the soccer realm. And I think it's just been a huge, more so inspiration from my end to at least fulfill what they're looking in and to me, and makes me work just as hard.
As he goes from your former head coach to now your boss, at least over at LCCC. But again, you mentioned again those kind of things to work on here out of the box as you are now here in Cheyenne, now with LCCC as the official head coach of the women's soccer program. Obviously, had to meet with the current at least team, obviously, to at least go over and say, hey, I'm this guy and this is where the direction is going to go. But what are other kind of working blocks that need to be done or addressed right now before we kind of hit the recruiting trail? And again, as we talk with Fernando, again, here in the state of Wyoming, or at least kind of here in the Rocky Mountain region, again, girls soccer does not start for a couple months, again, as we head in that spring season. So, again, we got some time to work on. But what are those things that you need to at least get settled in before we go on the recruiting trail?
I think it is just those initial conversations with our student athletes. Now, I've had a couple just texts and phone interactions with some of those that as soon as you had mentioned, as soon as the job process had happened, that I was named official head coach, it was connecting with those student athletes and just seeing what their process was at and get their mindset and inspiration, or like ideas of what should look like and what inspires them. And that's the big thing that I value of being a coach. It's the mentor aspect and not just the athletic side of things. And so I think within these first couple of weeks, it's continuing to do that once they get back on campus, having those individual face-to-face meetings. But then I think what's always been big for me is show my face around, like get acclimated with the area. Yes, I've been gone for 10 years, and that was the hardest part. Is my brother was a huge name around here, and obviously I want to build myself and my own name around it, but being able to just show who I am, get myself acclimated within the community, and just show that obviously I not only care about the college athletics realm, but also the high school realm and anything else around it with the club, especially for how quickly it's growing. That's what I do love, is having those connections of coaches that I was coached for before, like Brian Longbottom and Dave Eldred and Coy Pickle and all those guys that have helped me along the way. It's just being able to reconnect some of those things. And I know for them being just outreach for me and phone calls and texts, it's nice that I can be able to do the same thing for them.
How much of the schedule was already finalized? We know that Region 9 is set. We play home and road with all those teams, whether south or north, but non-conference, how much of that was already set previous by Nate or, again, by Jim? And how much free opportunity is there for you to now, as, again, make your statement of, we're going to bring this team in, or we're going to go here and challenge ourselves? Do you have that leeway, or is that schedule kind of finalized, so to speak, for 2023?
I think a little bit of both. I think at the moment now, like obviously the region schedule has been solidified, and them adding Gillette College now is another program that's coming back. Added another week that kind of took away what could be non-conference schedule. But there were a couple conversations that were going along, and that's where Gardner has been a great asset for me, is that he's had some of those initial conversations even before I was named official head coach. And so it's kind of getting those passed along and just solidified. So I think this year there might be a little bit of leeway, but there's also a couple that we've got some stuff in the works that will probably wrap itself up here soon. And even same thing with spring contacts, is it's having those initial meetings with student athletes that will be able to play in the spring, or that do have interest in playing in the spring, and then getting those spring games set up.
You know, talking with Fernando here not too long ago, and again coming in after Vince Gibson, I think I could probably say that both those coaches have been blessed with good assistant coaches. Jim and Nate, again, great staffs working for them as well. You, again, I'm sure you've taken a look at the current roster of those that have great minds on the soccer field. Have you had an opportunity to sit down with those assistants, or are you looking at, hey, maybe I want to add, or I need to go another route?
One of the nice things is we did have that initial conversation with Coach Valdez, and Becky's been a great asset. Even when I was at Waldorf, I'd come back for the state tournament, and she would tell me, hey, keep an eye on this kid, whether it was their school or not. And so I think that relationship was strong there from the get-go, and having that at least kind of grow into my new position, being able to at least connect. And now it's in a different realm where we're working together opposed to just helping on another asset. But I think just being able to still grow that, and then again, just the staff that's always been acclimated with it, and I had those conversations with the admin, is that they have good people in place, and they were respectful if I choose to go a different route. But I think for me, what keeps the program intact and the rich history through it is keeping those around that have at least helped it get to the success where it's at now. And I think Coach Becky played a huge role into that, as does Coach K with the goalkeepers, and just being able to at least grow within that. And even like you had mentioned, Fernando, he's been a great asset even for me, and obviously officially seeing him yesterday for the first time face-to-face realm, opposed to just on passing bys. But yeah, I think the coaching side from men and women have been great assets for me as I'm getting along.
As we asked Fernando this question, I'll ask you the same thing, Lugo. Again, facilities from the time you were here have kind of kept the same, so to speak, at least with the natural grass. Again, it's still one of the best playing surfaces here in the kind of Rocky Mountain region, or at least Region 9 in general. But, again, there have been some positive additions with scoreboards, with, again, netting. And, again, we saw brand new buildings. Again, we know the rack is coming. But your takeaway on facilities since you were here as a player to now as the head man, and also, too, on top of that, for, practice in the springtime here to get those ladies kind of ready for the 2023 at least schedule, what is kind of the at least focus for you, or where are we going to have these practices in kind of weight training, since the rack right now is under renovation?
I think it's working with what we have, and I think that's the good thing about college athletics is that you always got to be ready and kind of work with those avenues that come up, the small bumps in the roads. And knowing from what I've heard in the last couple of days, yeah, there is going to be a tough schedule, I guess, to work around with the necessities of gyms around the town and being able to work around different times. And same thing with the weight room, just being able to work with other coaches on campus on sorting out when our teams are able to get in there. And that's been the nice part, is just being able to understand from the ladies as well what their class schedules look like, so that I can get a jump start on some of those things. But yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot. I think for me, when you look on the outside looking in, every year I felt like they had added something up, and I've been gone for 10 years. And even just walking around the halls now, I feel like, oh, that's new or that's new. And it's crazy how some of the stuff is just like nostalgic when they're still in the same area or still in the same room, but buildings have changed or location of things have changed. And I think that's what I love about it, is that there's been transition and it hasn't just been real stagnant, because LCCC was a special place for me. And I think just being able to see that it's still progressing as time goes along, and like how you had mentioned the rack coming along, yeah, that'll make it a huge, huge, huge asset in regards to not only recruiting, but I think just for the community's sake, just being able to come out and support.
You know, talking about getting your feet on the ground and again, learning about our region. Yeah. And it's a tough region, you know, whether it's south or north. Again, putting your team keeping your team on the map. You know, there's some programs that have really stepped it up now. So how fast do you have to put the pressure on yourself to get acclimated to the Region 9?
You know, it's funny that you say that, because we would recruit when I was at Waldorf, plenty of kids from Otero or Casper College or just schools from the region. And so now having that different relationship with some of those coaches where they would help me out and be able to have that small connection, it was just more so laughable stuff, but they had said like, oh, now we can't send you players, or now we can't have those same types of conversations. But I think that was the nice part of being able to still recruit from this area, knowing how competitive it is and just being able to come into some of those things. And again, that's where Coach Gardner and Coach Gibson and Coach Perez, Fernando has helped out in regards to these are what the facilities will look like, or these are things to prepare for yourself. And I think just seeing the competition level rise, it makes it exciting, because it makes you want to work just as hard, being able to not only recruit but also adapt to the coaching world, and knowing that things change year in and year out. What worked last year might not work this year, and the type of student athletes that go about things. So it's a glorious thing, I think, for the region that it's growing and making it competitive, because then it just makes it that much more exciting when you do make it out of the region play.
You mentioned Coach Valdez, or Rebecca Valdez, who's been on our program, and again, head coach with the East High Lady Thunderbirds. And when their spring season gets underway here in March, boy, she's going to be some valuable eyes for you, especially Eastern Conference of Southern Wyoming. And again, too, she also has a chance to check out the talent in the West. Does that still fall within the signing frame, you know, if she finds that blue chipper, so to speak? I mean, do you have that opportunity still to work on that person to come to LCCC during their high school season?
I feel like that would be a possibility, and even more so, I think the great asset of that is looking at juniors that are going into that senior year, so you have that leg up on them. And for me, that was the good thing too, of being able to go to state tournaments. Yeah, we pulled out a couple kids from Rock Springs or Douglas, or kids that were just in the area that were still looking for a home when I was over at Waldorf. But the biggest part for me was being able to go watch juniors that could kind of help and move that leg forward. And I think that's where Coach Becky does a great job. And for everything that I've heard from Coach Gardner is that she has an eye for it, and has an eye for not only just like the most talented kid, but the best fit for LCCC and what we look for and what strives well for here. And so I think that is a huge asset going into the high school season as well.
Keeping on the topic of recruiting for you, Coach, now with being the head man, you know, again, you've looked to this state. Again, we know LCCC have teams pass. Again, they've taken some local talent here in Cheyenne, but again, they've also too gone as far as international, from, you know, the UK ranks on down to South America. They brought them all here to Cheyenne, Wyoming. If you have an emphasis, are you looking to do kind of similarity, or are you going to focus heavily on Rocky Mountain region or kind of mid-America, where, again, you said you spent time out in Iowa, look to kind of the middle part of the U.S. Is there going to be a centralized focus for you recruiting, or is it just going to be, I want the best anywhere?
I think it's not only the best, but also the best fit, and location could care less, whether that's an international student, a student from Texas, Wyoming, Colorado. I think it's widespread. And I think for me, just because of that's always been my philosophy in regards to recruiting, I could get the idea of sticking to a central region And the idea is to still carry with some Wyoming players because that's what makes LCCC. Even when I was here, we had teammates and built up around it. I mean, I'm a local product of it, and so I would love to see some of that tradition still carry on. But for the rest of it, yeah, it is taking what best fits for us and what can move us forward and put myself into a good position of being able to help self-prepare this team for the seasons up to come.
You know, I've been in Cheyenne since 1986, so, you know, very familiar with LCCC all during that time. My son, my daughter had an opportunity to go to LCCC for either a semester or a year. But the point is, LCCC back in the day, probably when you graduated, Nick, more noted as Last Chance Community College. But, you know, you've had that opportunity to be here as a student athlete. You know, your brother had a great reputation here on the campus of LCCC. You step away, a job opportunity comes to a very, very specialized program, soccer. What do you see now with LCCC, the growth since you've been away? And again, too, our athletic programs, very important now.
It has, and that's the odd part is myself, I didn't anticipate it, but as soon as I accepted the position, I was amazed on how many four-year coaches had reached out to me. And I think the name itself has just spoken well, and the tradition that they've had and the success that they've built up and the type of athletes that they send out to institutions. And so having some of those phone calls where for them it wasn't necessarily just because of me, but it's because of the program and what they've done in the past, that they know they had said, like, hey, if you still have two-year students that when you get there are looking for places, let me know. And I think for them, it's in their mind. They've always seen the progression of students that had started at LCCC do great things as they move forward, whether that's in academics, athletics, career-wise. And so I think that does strive for itself and speaks highly not just for the soccer programs, but also the basketball programs. And that's what I enjoy, is just being able to see from different sports where each athlete goes and the progression of what they have, because it does well for the community college. And for us, LCCC always felt like home. And so seeing basketball students, volleyball students, even rodeos that are doing well that had done events here, and then you see them at Frontier Days or stuff like that that move forward along with it. And so I think it speaks highly just for the college itself on how far it's come, even since I've been here, and just being able to see the progression of it all.
Coach, for this first season, goals for yourself, whether it is X amount of wins, sweeping Casper, getting a Region 9 championship. I mean, what have you kind of put on your shoulders of what you want to accomplish here in year one for LCCC?
I think it is carrying what has always made me as a coach in the type of environment. And I think as coaches, we always view success differently. Now, of course, I would love to continue that tradition of winning Region 9 titles and competing, and obviously the tradition of competing for that national tournament and hopefully moving forward into that realm. But I think it's tough to say early on, just being able to, as we get moving forward. But like I said, I've got the great assets with Mark Puev and Coach Gibson and around the coaching staff on campus to get me in that position of where I can move forward and get success going in that position.
Lugo Arenas, new head coach with the LCCC Lady Golden Eagles soccer program. Going to be a lot of fun catching both the men's and women's programs once again. And again, Nick, and I think you'll agree, and I know Lugo's listening to us right now, but again, you know, Fernando being in his second season now, but has that head coaching position without the interim tag, and Lugo comes in as the head coach. But it looks like neither one of these programs are going to miss a beat, and we'll be talking here, sometime in late August, in October, talking about various national tournaments. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree with that.
All right. Well, Lugo, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations and best of luck to you over at Laramie County Community College. We're going to take a time out. More of the Pro Show coming up right here. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. We're back after these words on 1480 K-Ray.
Cheyenne Regional wants to help you eat better, move more, and live longer. Join us at our annual Wake Up to Heart Health event on February 4th at 9 a.m. at the New Blue Community Events Center. You'll hear the survival story of a heart attack patient and his harrowing journey to the hospital, and from a Cheyenne Regional cardiologist about reducing your risk factors for a heart attack. The cost to attend this life-changing event is only $25. To register, visit CheyenneRegional.org/wakeup by January 31st.
Hi, it's Lee at Absolute Flooring. It's time to put 2022 behind us and get 2023 off to a great start. The best way to do that is with new flooring from Absolute Flooring. With a large variety of flooring products and a multitude of styles, colors, and prices, your new floor awaits you. And with the best in installers, get your new year started off right with a stop at Absolute Flooring in the Cheyenne Plaza and at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store, absolutely.
Winter driving in Wyoming. Are you prepared? Winter storms strike quickly across Wyoming's high plains and the mountains. When they do, driving conditions can deteriorate rapidly and become very challenging. Make sure your vehicle is ready for the elements and you have an emergency preparedness kit available. Driving on slick roads, always remember slower speed, acceleration, steering, and braking. Also turn off the cruise control and always buckle up. Ice and snow. Take it slow. Know before you go. For travel info, call 511 or online at wyoroad.info. Paid for by Federal Highway Safety Funds.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-368-1307. 800-368-1307. 800-368-1307. That's 800-368-1307.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-501-9096. 800-501-9096. 800-501-9096. That's 800-501-9096.
Do you like to keep your deposits local while maximizing your returns? Come check out our top-tier rates at First Tier Bank. Conveniently located on Stillwater Avenue and in the heart of downtown at 18th and Cary, we look forward to serving all your financial needs. Member FDIC.
1480 K-Ray is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 K-Ray features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 K-Ray, also streaming the games worldwide on the web at 1480kray.com.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, sunshine and windy. Expect a daytime high near 32. Winds out of the west at 30 to 40. Gustiness high is 55. For tonight, mostly clear and blustery. Our low down to 16 degrees. Westerly winds 15 to 20. Gustiness high is 30 miles per hour. Partly sunny for tomorrow. Look for a daytime high near 40. And for Thursday night, a mostly cloudy sky with our low down to 23. We welcome you back to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti, and we bring on our final guest for this afternoon, and we wish him a happy new year, too. Longtime friend, and I'm sure as he clicked his heels after being all over the place, and I know being in the warmth of Tucson, but heading back to Laramie, there's no place like home. Kevin McKinney joining us from Laramie, so good to have you on board there, pal.
Always good to be on, Proietti brothers and father, son, and all that. Happy New Year,
Kevin. Let's talk a little bit about football. We'll morph that into basketball, and then I have some things too that I wanted to drop in your lap and get your opinion on. But let's look at the past Arizona Bowl. Some good performances by players that you really didn't think were going to step up, but. Again, an L is an L in overtime, but, for the Cowboys, a unique season.
It was, Larry. It was one of those deals that's if you look at the schedule to start the year and say, I don't know if we can find 3 or 4, maybe even 5 victories. And certainly the Cowboys did much better than that. I think the heartbreak of the year was Boise for sure, and then the bowl game. If those two had gone the other way and the Cowboys would have gotten victories out of those two, it would have been a spectacular year considering what everybody expected when the year started. But the Boise game was a tough one to take, and the bowl game certainly was as well.
Kevin, at least post the Arizona Bowl, again, with the loss to Ohio in overtime, which, again, was a thrilling contest, again, came down to the wire to get Ohio with the touchdown there in the overtime to win and become the eventual Arizona Bowl champions. But, again, season that, again, was above 500 again for Craig Bohl, and again, still eluding that Mountain West Conference championship for the Wyoming Cowboys. Craig Bohl, and again, this is social media where everyone's gotten a voice and opinion, but it seems like social media-wise, those talking heads have kind of called for the head for Craig Bohl, saying, hey, this is unexcusable, or, again, kind of that mediocrity is here with the Wyoming Cowboys. I guess, in your opinion, Kevin, Craig Bohl, did he exceed? Did he match? I mean, what is your takeaway of him coaching the Cowboys this season and what the outcome was, even with postseason play?
Well, I think, my personal opinion, Nick, is that this is one of his better coaching years. I mean, when you consider what the Cowboys had lost to the portal and the games they were going to play and the opponents they were going to play, they really did, I think, much better than a lot of people expected. And you totally expect that on social media. That's people want their team to be the very best. I've been around a long time, and guys, we used to wish for 5 or 6 victories, let alone 7, through many of those years. And I think Craig has brought a consistency to the program. He's not happy without a championship, just like any of the rest of us. But I think we've got a program now that we have expectations, and there were so many years we didn't have any expectations. Now we do, and 7 isn't good enough for us. We want to win more than that. We want a championship. He wants that. His staff does, and I think that's what he's brought to the program. He's brought a consistency that is something that I'm really pleased with. But I think the Cowboys are to the point now that they've reached that consistent level. Now they've got to get to another level, and I know Craig wants to do that as well.
Kevin, you mentioned the transfer portal for UW, where, again, it affects every FBS team, FCS. Again, it's just part of college athletics and college football at this point in time. But, again, we go back to kind of social media, the fans kind of showing concern that, again, a lot of big names, a lot of faces that were playmakers for the Cowboys have entered that transfer portal and are walking away and trying to look for a new home. For your aspect, Kevin, being a part of that team and close to that team, is it really all that concerning, or is it, again, as I alluded to, it's just, hey, that's what college football is nowadays?
Nick, I think sadly it is. I'm obviously an old school guy, and it's really hard for me to deal with it, but that is what we are going to be dealing with now. That's the new normal, sadly, and so you're going to lose kids every year. Some years you'll probably lose more than other years. There's a variety of reasons for that. But I would say that there's only one way to combat that, and that is to get in the portal yourself and see who you can get. But it's a mercenary world now. And the years that programs like Wyoming could get young kids in and develop them to where their junior and senior years they were very productive Cowboys. Those are not going to be the norm anymore. And Wyoming has always been a developmental program where you get kids that aren't highly recruited, but they turn into really good players. You kind of have a crystal ball in that regard. And it's really kind of a crapshoot sometimes as to how good they will be, if they'll be good at all. and that's not going to be what we're going to see from now on. Obviously, as you said, it's nationwide, it's division wide. Kids now can go wherever they want without sitting out. Well, they're going to see if the grass is greener somewhere else. Often it isn't. You look at the portal and how many thousands of kids have not been picked up by anybody, and so they've lost their scholarship. They're languishing in that portal, and they have no place to go, and that's not a good thing, and it's one of the downsides of that whole process.
Kevin, I'm glad that Nick brought that up because that was one of the things I wanted to chat with you. And again, we're part of the Medicare program, so we've seen it all, but you have been more close to all of the doings of the NCAA and seeing these changes come about. And again, we're seeing, and I hate to use the word abuse, but when you got a player that's on the field and he's been to 5 different schools through his 5 years in college, it kind of it blows you away. Are we starting to see abuse of the transfer portal? And again, we know all the little anomalies that go on where players are getting this, that, and the other thing to come to various schools. And like you said, we're a developmental school. We just don't have those type of resources. But are we starting to see a lot of abuses with this transfer portal?
Well, I'm sure that there are, Larry, because wherever there's anything like that, there'll be abuse. We know that. I think, what's really, and it's here to stay. I don't think there's any doubt that it's not going away. We're going to have to continue to deal with it and work with it. But where it really affects student athletes is in the graduation area. And you mentioned a guy that's been at 5 different programs. They don't transfer their credits, and they eventually just don't graduate. And I think that we'll see the graduation rate go down a little bit because these individuals are going to 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 schools, and that's just you're going to have a very difficult time graduating with that kind of movement. So I think there might be some tweaks to it that will help alleviate these abuses and allow kids to have a better opportunity to graduate. I think what we were able to see prior to the portal is that graduation rates were rising. It was a very positive. Right now, there's going to be kids that will not graduate who would have without the portal. So, it's early in this process, and they'll make tweaks to it and adjust to it. I think that student athletes should have the opportunity to make a move, just like coaches do. But moving from school to school every year, that's not a good thing. We all realize that, and so I would suspect that they'll make some adjustments to that. But one thing it was clear, guys, the portal is here, and it's going to be here to stay, and it can be probably a good thing. We're having a hard time with it because we're not used to it. But I think down the road, kids won't be so quick to go into the portal just because they know so many of their friends and teammates who didn't get out of it. Nobody picked them up. And so you're sitting there with a scholarship playing for a program, and maybe you'd like to go to a warmer climate, for instance, or something like that. But you can get in the portal and not go anywhere, and suddenly you don't have a scholarship, and you're scrambling. So it's going to take a little while for everybody to adjust to it and get used to it.
Kevin, I want to get your thoughts and opinion on this. We're here in the Rocky Mountain region, big news over the past, at least about a month ago, with Colorado just down the road from us and the Buffs in the Pac-12 signing Deion Sanders, again, a big-time playmaker as a head coach there for the CU Buffs. And again, it's certainly on college football, brought a lot of eyes and ears and attention to that program and just kind of at least the Rocky Mountain region. I guess what I'm alluding to with you, Kevin, and again, we'll see how CU and again with Coach Sanders and what his at least success could be with the Buffs. But for Wyoming being close by, for again with a lot of talent focusing their efforts and eyes to Boulder, Colorado, could Wyoming Cowboys, could Craig Bowl and company benefit from this happening just down the road of some kind of spillover talent that can't go to CU, but I'll stick around the area and maybe go to Laramie, Wyoming instead?
Well, I suppose that could happen. Yeah, certainly so. But I think that you got to hand it to the Buffs. They made a grandstand play, and they obviously needed it as poorly as they've been playing over these last few years. Whether Sanders is able to get that program going, well, that remains to be seen. But they will have a lot of good players. We know that. Whether they stay, whether they get the portal, that remains to be seen as well. But I would imagine that the players and the student athletes that Sanders is recruiting probably are not going to be interested in the rest of the programs in the Rocky Mountain area. I think they're going there for him and what he brings to the table. So I don't know that it would benefit the rest of the programs in the Rocky Mountain area, but you never know about that. Somebody might come up and not like CU maybe, but checks Wyoming out and likes it. But I would imagine that the guys that he's recruiting probably are not going to be interested in the main in Wyoming or CSU or any of the other programs in this part of the country. And it'll be interesting to see the guys that he does recruit, how long they stay in this part of the country. So a very interesting move by Colorado, and I think everybody's anxious to see how it plays out.
Kevin McKinney joining us here on 1480 K-Ray. Kevin, as we will approach the spring game, and it'll be here before you know it for Craig Bull's outfit, let's talk about must needs right now. And again, we saw maybe the future at running back for the Wyoming Cowboys, but holes that definitely need to be filled up, and we know those that have said, I'm coming to UW, but as you look at this all the time, Kevin, back and forth, what are holes that need to be not patched up, but they have to be filled in tightly?
Well, I think starting on the offensive side, you're going to have to get an offensive tackle and one guard to step in, and that was the most consistent area of the team, and probably the most difficult area of the team to really be good at. So there'll be a couple offensive linemen that they'll have to plug in there. Cowboys are going to have to get more receivers. There's no doubt about that. There's going to have to be more deep threats, more speed at the receiver. The running back situation, and we saw one emerge in the bowl, but there's a couple guys who were out for the rest of the year because of injury who will return, and I like both of them, and I think everybody did. They were outstanding, but I think receiver on offense is going to be big. Backup quarterback, developing more of that behind Peasley. Defensively, probably corners, and hopefully Goodbow becomes it gets healthy. He's a guy that has been in and out, and so you probably get another tackle or two. You never have enough of them. But there's a lot of there's not that many holes actually when you look at it as to who emerged as the season went along from the younger guys. It's still going to be a young team. There's not going to be a lot of seniors again next year. But I would say always you need a couple more offensive linemen. And the Cowboys, I think, really are going to need speed at receiver.
Before we get into the spring game, though, we still have many months of at least Cowboy basketball in front of us, as now we're into Mountain West Conference play. Cowboys over the past weekend on at least New Year's Eve, they're at the AA, had a close effort against an unbeaten New Mexico Lobos team. But again, give credit to the Lobos. They're in the top 25. They're unbeaten for a reason. But again, Cowboys gave them a good effort. Coming up this weekend, still in Laramie, San Diego State will be in town. Another formidable foe coming in to take on the Cowboys. But want to get your assessment so far as we're now at a non-conference, which was kind of shaky, a little up and down for the Cowboys. Again, this Cowboys team under your head coach Jeff Linder, one of the darlings in the preseason, expected to kind of guarantee themselves in the NCAA tournament. Well, right now the tournament's kind of a secondary thought as the Cowboys got to get through the Mountain West Conference and pick up some victories. But that shaky start, Kevin, let's kind of get into it of what was kind of the cause, and is it kind of concerning for the Cowboys and kind of the postseason hopes that were kind of thrust upon this team earlier on this year?
Well, Nick, you got to start with losing the preseason player of the year. I mean, if EK is playing, then it's a lot different look to the preseason. I think that over the last couple of games, the Cowboys have done a better job of adjusting to not playing with Graham. They went all summer, went to Greece and played together with him, and you really felt like Linder had his rotation set, and then all of a sudden Graham EK can't play, and he's still out. I thought the game against New Mexico was obviously their best game of the year to date, where they really did a good job of adjusting to not having him. I think it was the best job they've had all year of doing that. And so, you've got just as difficult an opponent coming up on Saturday with the Aztecs, but you don't have that inside presence, the rim protector, the guy who's going to get you high percentage baskets when you're not shooting the ball well from the perimeter. That's not here yet. And will Graham be back? That's the billion-dollar question. Nobody's for sure whether he will or not. But without him, the Cowboys are trying to adjust. And I thought the rotation that Linder utilized against New Mexico was maybe the right one, and might help them through the conference season until Graham does come back, if he does come back. But it's disappointing because there was so much expectation, and it's amazing in the sport of basketball. One individual can make a tremendous difference in how you play, because Graham really elevated the play of all the other players, and it was a big blow to them not to have him. But I think now they're in a situation where, hey, we don't know if he's going to come back or not. We got to get ourselves going, and I think they did a good job against New Mexico of adjusting and playing in a different way than they had planned to play.
It's interesting too, Kevin, and again, seeing a lot of Cowboy games through your lifetime and the time I've been up here too. And it's almost like, well, now with the regular season getting started during Christmas break, and a lot of our sixth man fans are not there. And again, you still have some of your base out of Laramie and Cheyenne that will come to these games. But I think back even to the times when I'm sitting on the floor with you and Dave, boy, those guys are rallied around that sixth man cheering, and it just seems like I'm not feeling it. Am I wrong on that here in the AA when our kids are gone?
Yeah, then that has been a problem for us, Larry, since you were sitting alongside us. It's a long Christmas break, long holiday break. And they've missed some big games, and unfortunately, this schedule played out to where we had a lot of good Saturday games, and of course, Saturday being the best for all of our fans to come to. But without the students, there's not the energy. There's no doubt about it. And so I thought there was pretty good energy against the Lobos. Not a big crowd, but good energy. But you have to have the students. and they're not coming back for. They won't be here for this game, and I think it's probably another week after that before they're back. When they're back and going, it's a huge help to the team. But of course, the team has to do well. We all know that people come to watch winners, and if you're not doing well, they can find something else to do. So the Cowboys have got to get a couple of big wins under their belt, get people re-energized with the program again. I think people right now who got so excited about how the prospect was, they've kind of backed off a little bit, and they're waiting and seeing how the Cowboys are going to do. And I think if Graham comes back, that will help in that regard, and that will energize the building. But you're right. It's when the students are gone, it's not the same. And the AA, which can be a great building for the home team, isn't as energetic. And so, the Cowboys have got to win some games, and the students have got to get back, and hopefully Graham can get back, and then we'll get it rolling again.
Kevin, always a pleasure, and again, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining us today, and we will catch up with you down the road.
Okay, good to talk to you guys. Happy New Year.
Kevin McKinney, join us here on 1480 K-Ray. We've got about 5 minutes before the top of the hour, so let's keep it here. One of the things, and again, you don't address this with Kevin, with Craig Bull. And I have not been a fan of Craig Bull.
Neither have I.
And, but I'm more outspoken about it than you are. But the thing is,
I don't know about that. After that Bull loss, pretty much kind of reiterated of what I've been saying, whether it was here on the Pro Show or again Wyoming Sports Talk today, again on this airwaves of saying, hey, this guy is still overall sub 500, sub 500 in the Mountain West Conference. No Mountain West Conference championship. Again, we've gotten close, but still, again, have not brought that hardware. And again, you just recently lost to an Ohio team that, again, had 3 quality wins against teams that finished just above 500.
The question is,
it's not at 500.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Bull's under contract till 2024. So again, you use the word buyout. Well, you don't really want to buy him out. But I mean, when's Craig Bull going to just say, hey, I've had enough? I mean, and I go back and I told you this earlier.
I he's pretty comfortable here.
I told you this earlier. And you mentioned with social media and Kevin. And it's interesting, too, with social media. Everybody can chime in now. Guys, in their basement or their mom's house, and they're got nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
But I remember this had to be back when Joe Tiller was coaching. And again, he came in following Paul Roach. Paul Roach had great success.
Yeah.
Well, Joe got out of the blocks a little slow, and he was 500. No different than Craig Bull. And we didn't have the social media like it is today. You wrote letters to the editor when our newspaper was, right down the center, not, off to one side of the other. So my point was, and everybody was griping about mediocre Joe. Well, Joe had a good season, put his foot on the field for one game, the WAC championship, had his foot on the other plane getting ready to go to Purdue. I mean, basically, the fans said, we don't like you, Joe. You're just, you're a 500 coach. Here's Wyoming again, the same situation. We've gone through this for, 10 years now?
Yeah.
With Craig Bull, we're 500. And we went to a bowl game that is absolutely crap. Okay? $350,000 guaranteed payout, $175,000 to the Mountain West, $175,000 to Wyoming. That is if we sold our tickets. And again, how many people did we fly down there? How many boosters are part of that or sponsors? Let's go into that.
Well, crowd
let's
attendance.
Talk about how much did we lose?
Who knows? And again, I don't think UW really cares about the financials because again, they're getting
they're
getting others from other resources throughout the Mountain West Conference, or again with Nike or again whatever main advertiser that they have through again college athletics. But either way, though, again, crowd was again one of the best, and that's what we expect out of Wyoming Cowboy fans. Again, it doesn't matter what bowl, whether it's Idaho Arizona, or again, any throughout this entire nation, that again, they're going to show up, and they did. But yes, again, the quality of the bowl, and again, and this is nothing against Barstool Sports. Again, that's a whole other commentary. And again, I enjoyed the broadcast, and again, I'm a Barstool Sports fan. So again, it was, and again, that's what you're used to if you watch that. And again, I have no issue. It was something different. It was something unique on the broadcasting side, which again I respect. But it's something that the game itself, though, to take on a MAC team that was again got there by beating up again. The MAC was on the same kind of level as the Mountain West Conference, where it was clearly down. This Ohio team, again, benefited and took care of what was need to be done. But again, they had 3 quality wins against teams that finished 500 within that MAC conference. Non-conference, their only interesting win, or at least only win, was against Fordham out of the FCS. So it's something that this team, again, and Kevin kind of alluded to it a little bit, saying Cowboys, and I think Cowboy fans, and again, for us, I think kind of group into that situation that, again, expectations change. Yes, okay, we're getting to bowl games. Yes, that's fine and dandy. Again, where in years past, you were begging to get to bowls. Well, now you're getting that consistency. Now you need to take that next step and that next level of Mountain West Conference Championship to take on not just mid-major teams, nothing against them, but again, it's mid-major for a reason. Again, they're overlooked on the national spotlight for the Power Fives. That's why, again, this upcoming change of realignment to teams moving into the Big Ten, the Pac-12. Again, we see it currently right now with Mountain West teams, where, again, we have confirmation that teams are leaving to go to the Pac-12. They're wanting to move out of this conference. I think that's kind of the concern right now, and I think that's kind of where my gripe is, and a lot of those armchair quarterbacks that got online after that loss to Ohio saying, hey, yes, cool, we got to a bowl, but when is the next step going to be? Where, again, yes, we're on a consistent winning base, or at least consistently getting to bowls.
We're competitive.
Yeah, we're competitive. We need to take that next step to get to that next level, to be in the conversation with Boise State, or, again, where we can challenge not so much the top 25, maybe sneak in a top 25 upset, but again, you can be competitive with Pac-12, SEC, or again, Big Ten opponents, whether it is non-conference or postseason opportunity.
We've reached the top of the hour, and I'm going to leave it as I've said before. If you want mediocrity, keep Craig Bowl on as your head coach. You're not going to get Mountain West Conference championships under his direction. Is there anybody out there better? Don't know. But again,
there is.
If you want to go to...
There are better candidates out there, but will they come to Laramie?
I know, but if you want to go to Ham-and-Egger Bowls, like the Arizona Bowl, famous Potato Bowl, you want to go to those cheapy bowls, keep Craig Bowl on, because that's all he's going to lead you. He's not going to lead you to the promised land. Quit believing it. 10 years. 10 years of nothing. Mediocrity. That's it. All right, we got to wrap things up here on our program, The Pro Show. We'll be back at it again Tuesday from 11 till 1. We do want to mention high school hoops real quick. Tomorrow, 6:15 pregame show, tap time 6:30. Tentatively, it will be the East High Lady Thunderbirds. They continue on their long winning streak. They will be hosting Rock Springs and Rock Springs Tigers and the East High Thunderbirds. That will be at the Thunderdome, part of the James Johnson Winter Classic Day 1, as we will be a part of it on the floor tomorrow. So do join us for the broadcast.
Yeah, again, Thursday's action, again, East versus Rock Springs. Friday's action for us, again, late night, we'll go over to Shine South. South will take on Green River, and then Saturday's afternoon action live from the Fieldhouse, Central versus Rock Springs. So that's how the schedule at least lines up for us here on 1480 K-Ray. Again, look forward to, again, all those contests. Again, part of this fun weekend here in Cheyenne. So, again, we'll have all those contests. Again, look for our social media sites, 1480 K-Ray's Facebook page, the Pro Show's Facebook page. Go over there, give us a like and a follow. We appreciate that. Facebook, on the YouTube side, 1480 K-Ray. Go over there, subscribe, and like our videos. We certainly appreciate that. Again, as we did yesterday, as we're doing with all of our shows here on 1480 K-Ray. Again, if you happen to miss any of the interviews or any portion of today's program, will be replayed later on today, 4 to 6 p.m. The Pro Show, again, replaying this again later on today, and then 8 to 10, again, we will have Golden Age of Radio playing here on 1480 K-Ray. So, again, a power pack of, again, at least a little talk added with the golden oldies here on 1480 K-Ray.
So, for Nick Proietti, I'm Larry Proietti. That wraps up our program. We now return to regular programming on 1480 K-Ray.